Well, good morning, and welcome to Good Morning Uganda on this Thursday where we throw back. Yes, Thursday is a throwback day on Good Morning Uganda here on Uganda Broadcasting Corporation. We are coming to you live from the broadcast house here at Nile Avenue. I'm Olive Monica Najuma, and I'm thankful that you're waking up with us today to see what the day has got for us, and of course to look at the recent updates regarding the news and many stories that have occurred in our country but also around the world. And I'll take you to China. Many African leaders, over 50 of them, were welcomed in Beijing to talk about many issues, among others bilateral relations, to mention but a few. And right now I know that Kenya's Ruto and South Africa's Ramaphosa are already in Beijing. Now we will give you updates regarding that story and so much more as we go along. Now in Studio B, I have Joram Paul Sonko, whom I think is wonderful like he always is. But let me ask, good morning, Sonko.
And good morning to our dear viewer this Thursday. Thursday where we get to also throw back to some of those great memories that brought us back. Now, yesterday when the leader of the National Unity Platform was discharged from hospital following that incident that happened in Bulindo on Tuesday, it took me back to the days of retired Colonel Kizza Besigye, who then had been tear gassed in the eyes directly. I don't remember the year, but what I do know, it was one of those chaotic days in Uganda's opposition. And it being a Thursday, it took me back to that time when he had also been taken to Nairobi in order to receive further treatment, and then also his maiden return here in Uganda. So I was trying to compare the two when it comes to Uganda's opposition and how different opposition leaders have been going through it all in order to actually have their stand in regards to what they oppose of what the government does, or the policies or some of the policies of the government. But that said, the Thursday is good enough to kickstart off our weekend, which I believe would be of good importance to all of us, simply because it starts off tomorrow and it will be the very first of the month of September. But here we are in order to usher the Ugandans into what seems to be a wonderful Thursday.
It is indeed a wonderful Thursday. Now I have Robert Chirabo right here with me. Good morning, Robert. You look smart.
Oh, thank you.
How are you?
I'm fine. Just following events as they unfold in my motherland.
All right.
Sonko was talking about Kizza Besigye when he had issues with the eye when he was tear gassed. The same leader actually also had a shooting, but for him it was a rubber bullet that hit his ring finger. And I remember he was rushed to Kampala International Hospital, where he got some treatment, but also created a lot of actually the situation of shooting him with a rubber bullet on his ring finger created a similar suspension. Time we're investigating, we shall find out. But I think because Kizza Besigye has a military background, it was very easy for him to identify that this wasn't a bullet, it was a rubber bullet, not an actual bullet. But this situation we are seeing here, still, it's like history repeating itself. We've ever had it, we've ever had some little talk here and there, it was this, it wasn't this. So it just takes me back to someone who once said, there's nothing new under the moon. However, it also takes me back to those days when we didn't have this multi-party politics in our country, when it was one system, the movement system. I don't know if Sonko was there by then. Now there you would stand on individual merit. People would vote for you, people would elect you because of your ability. And you didn't have this following that because so and so, no, it was entirely on merit. We didn't have this so-called now, these are these are protecting so and so, these are protecting so and so, so and so has spoken, and it makes me ask myself, were we ready for multi-party dispensation, given the confusions in a number of political parties? We've seen political parties split day in, day out. We've seen people who do not understand and think they're bigger than their political parties, but also levels of tolerance, both the NRM and the opposition, also become a thing that makes you wonder. So it makes me think, were we actually ready, or were we driven into this by our development partners, saying you must be democratic, therefore open political space?
Well, Robert, to answer your question, were we ready, were we not? I think everyone can answer that on an individual basis. Some people will say we were ready, because imagine a Uganda 20 years later that doesn't have multi-party dispensation. We would probably be having bigger problems. But I like that we gave it a chance through a referendum. We chose to walk into this direction, and now we have what we have today. But I think that all countries with a multi-party system have their own set of problems, because even when you look at a country like the United States, which is way forward, they also have issues. You're going to find Kamala Harris digging holes into Donald Trump from the Republican Party, and then Donald is also doing something to the Democrats. So I think it is really the same thing, old wine in a new bottle, different countries, different leaders, different dynamics. But I still say multi-party dispensation is the way to go for any country, because you cannot have the same country agreeing on the same thing. You cannot. Even in the movement party, that is the biggest party in parliament, there are divisions here and there sometimes. So I think that this is what democracy looks like, and I believe that development and growth politically also stands for the same thing.
Well, I doubt if you have the right foundation. Because when the foundation is wrong, I'm not saying our democracy foundation or multi-party foundation is wrong, but once it's wrong, even if you raise the house to a lot of height, still the walls will be bent.
I think for me, the only problem is that our opposition members, or most of our opposition leaders, are majorly, focused on individual gains than, let's say, party gains or the country's gains. And that is why even with our even with our political parties here, you get to realize that we have within the political parties people disagreeing. And when you look at some of the other countries, of course there are disagreements within parties, but when it comes to have one common cause as a party, they will have to push for the same agenda. Now look at the incident happening in FDC, for example. Two groups splitting. Not only that, also when it comes to the national unit platform, they are also having the same issues within the leadership circles of the party. So that to me is something that is also affecting the democracy here in regards to the political parties that we are having as a country.
And you're right, by the way, Joram. And what I would say to that is maybe borrowing a bit from what Shirabu said. It is basically foundation. When I see the infights in the National Unity Platform Party, for me it begs for the question, was there a plan? Was there a 10-point program before the party was formed, that when we get there, you will be this, you will be this? Because personally, if you ask me, the way the leader of opposition, the former, was kicked out, left a lot to be desired, in my opinion. And I think this is where most of the problems come from. Now, when you look at the FDC, they argue, they have two factions, the Katonga and then Najana Nkumbi. Katonga argues that people have left FDC to join the ruling party because of their own personal gains. And it's really confusing, but that's the political situation in the country.
You see, first and foremost, the foundation of our political parties, that is a problem. It's a general problem. That, one, why do we form these political parties? But also, we fail to deter political parties from the former founders of these political parties. Now, to make matters worse is commercialization of politics. That now politics is one of the most paying jobs. If Najuma joined politics, let me tell you, in a year, so commercialization of politics given the fact that also we've not formed political parties
that can go beyond
the founders. People own these political parties to some extent. Now, if people own these political parties and there is so much money in politics, then it ceases to be a service sometimes, but a form of employment.
I agree. And with that, we will put a pin onto this conversation and head right into our local stories.
Looking at our local stories, we begin with His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the President of the Republic of Uganda, addressing a keynote meeting at State House in Entebbe, advocating for strengthening of the Public Service Standing Order, with an emphasis on enhancing the efficiency and effectiveness of public service delivery. The President underscored the necessity of rationalization as a fundamental strategy for optimal resource allocation within government structures. The President's remarks come as critical response to the ongoing discussion about improving public sector performance. In a meeting with the Parliamentary Sectorial Committee on Finance, Planning and Economic Development, National Economy and Agriculture, the President proposed adaptation of the RAPEX concept, coupled with proposed transitional implementation period of 3 years for Uganda Coffee Development Authority. President Museveni also highlighted that focusing on a singular entity with a clear mandate would eliminate redundancy and inefficiencies caused by multiple stakeholders in the system. Other government officials who attended the meeting included the Prime Minister, Right Honorable Robin Nabanja, the Attorney General, Honorable Kirio Wachiwanuka, and various government ministry coordinators who expressed their support to the President's proposal, recognizing its potential to streamline functions within government. Now, Uganda is to host a conference on sustainable development goals slated for next year in April. During the launch of the preparatory for the activities, the Prime Minister Robin Nabanja said the conference is a great opportunity to review the performance of sustainable development goals and a great opportunity to better life of Ugandans. Present at the launch at the office of the Prime Minister was the UN resident, that is United Nations, resident coordinator, ministers and officials from the Sustainable Development Goals Secretariat. Now moving to politics. The preliminary police report on incident that left the National Unity Platform President Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu injured in Bulindo Kila Division, Wakiso District, is not clear about what hit Kyagulanyi and injured his leg. The initial police report indicates that Kyagulanyi stumbled while entering his car and got a scratch. The party officials insist that police targeted their leader with tear gas canister, while police deny and commit to investigate. The police have justified the force used to disperse NUP supporters. Police say these supporters initiated a procession which police detected to interfere with the traffic flow. Rusoke Gituma, the police spokesperson, revealed that during the scuffle, 3 police officers were seriously injured and 2 police vehicles' window screens smashed. Police accused NUP leader for unwarranted provocation, especially by staging an unlawful procession, disturbing traffic flow, and stoning and attacking police officers on duty. The force has expressed open door for more engagements with different political players, especially National Unity Platform for Harmonization and Security for All. And finally, from the local scene, the Ministry of Information, Communication and National Guidance has updated Parliament on the status of both the National Backbone Infrastructure in Local Government and Uganda Communications Universal Service and Access Fund. The Minister of State for ICT and National Guidance, Godfrey Kabyanga, and line agencies committed to improving service delivery despite challenges of inadequate funding. In the meeting with the Parliamentary Committee on ICT and National Guidance, Maurice Mugisha, the Deputy MD of Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, also notified the MPs about the temporary disconnection of some upcountry television services due to the debt to pay the satellite fees.
Now moving on with the international news, Hamas says Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is thwarting a ceasefire deal by refusing to withdraw forces from Gaza's Philadelphia corridor. Israel's continued bombardment of Gaza kills at least 18 Palestinians in the latest attacks on Wednesday, medical sources told Al Jazeera. Palestinian officials say 4,000 residents have been forced to leave their homes at gunpoint in East Jenin, as the UN says Israeli forces are using warlike tactics against civilians in the occupied West Bank. At least 40,861 people have been killed and 94,398 wounded in Israel's war on Gaza. At least 1,139 people were killed in Israel in the Hamas-led attacks in October. Now moving on to the United States. The United States has announced a range of actions to combat Russian efforts to influence the 2024 presidential election, including the indictment of two state media employees accused of secretly funding a U.S. media company to sow political divisions. In an indictment unsealed on Wednesday, the U.S. Justice Department alleged that two employees of Russia's RT used shell companies and fake identities to pay $10 million to a media outlet in Tennessee as part of a Moscow-directed influence operation. Kostiantini Kalanskov and Elena Afanasheva face charges of conspiracy to launder money and conspiracy to violate the Foreign Agents Registrations Act. U.S. Attorney General Merrick B. Garland said the influence campaign had targeted U.S. audiences with hidden Russian government messaging. The company never disclosed to their influencers or to their millions of followers its ties to RT and the Russian government. Instead, the defendants and the company claimed the company was sponsored by a private investor. That private investor was a fictitious persona, Garland said. Garland said authorities would not tolerate attempts by an authoritarian regime to exploit our country's free exchange of ideas in order to covertly further its own propaganda efforts, and that investigations were ongoing. Now moving on, with pomp and splendor, China has welcomed more than 50 African leaders to Beijing this week for a summit to strengthen ties at a time of increasing political and economic turmoil around the world. It appeals to their vanities, Macharia Munene, a Kenya-based professor of international relations, tells the BBC, referring to the red carpet welcome spiced up with entertainment by dancers in colorful costumes that the leaders received. The optics were carefully choreographed to make the leaders feel that it is a meeting of equals. Many of them, including South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa and Kenya's William Ruto, held one-to-one meetings with their Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping and were given tours of Beijing and other cities at the heart of China's development ahead of the summit. As Professor Mnene puts it, China's aim is to show African leaders that we are in the same boat. We are all victims of Western imperialism. Now that interesting story in Beijing ends our international news. We have more in the press review with Jerome Paul Sonko.
Start off with what the new vision is highlighting this very morning, because according to the New Vision today, on Thursday, President Museveni, members of parliament finally agree on agency mergers as the legislators put up a spirited fight to save the agencies. Then also, Alupo meets Xi Jinping, and there's a pictorial of the Chinese president plus the vice president of Uganda during the forum on China-Africa Cooperation, or FOCAC, at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing yesterday. Then also, Kampala, noise pollution killing city dwellers silently, according to a new report. Then President Museveni appoints 7 new assistant inspector generals of police. And then also, court, brothers jailed for life over killing mobile money agent. That is also in the New Vision. Now, President Museveni meets new Japanese ambassador. Rather, Mohozi meets new Japanese ambassador. You can see the pictorial of the CDF with the new Japanese ambassador at the front page of the New Vision. Now in Kenya, the Daily Nation, Raila retires. The Orange Party is planning for Odinga's exit as early as next month, as the Kenya Revenue Authority chair sought special deal for his children to buy cars. Find more details of that in the Daily Nation. Ruto joins African leaders in state dinner hosted by Chinese president. Then Tigania cult, Meru pastor radicalized followers sexually exploited women in a new report. Now, new rules to curb exam cheating. Assessments are set to start next month in Kenya. Then lastly, from our press review is the Citizen newspaper. Bankers have nothing but praise for Tanzania's leading business paper of the Citizen, as $1 billion Tazara rehabilitation closer to reality. Then the Citizen shows you why a weaker shilling in East Africa is not all bad news. And also Zipa warns over land acquisitions and BNBs. Also why some contractors may miss out on the 840 billion Tanzanian shillings tenders. That is something that you can look out for in our press review this 5th of September 2024.
Well, thank you, Joram Paul. Now, it is good news, especially for some officers in the Uganda police force, as the president of the nation, His Excellence Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, and also the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, promoted the following officers to the rank of Assistant Inspector General of Police. And these include SSP Bamunova Ubaldo, SSP Bariamwisaki Felix, Kafero Moses, Kataratambi Charles, Mwesigwa Frank, Namtebi Hadija, and SSP Waswa David. They were promoted by the Commander-in-Chief to the rank of Assistant Inspector General of Police. And we say congratulations to them. It is indeed a beautiful feat when your achievements and contributions are recognized by the fountain of power and honor in the country. Now, moving on, it's rather sad news coming through, especially for the OBs and OGs, old boys and old girls of Namasagali College, as the renowned Father Grimes has breathed his last. He's known for having pioneered education in the country and putting across and forward the education of the girl child in Uganda. And a lot will be said about the now fallen Father Grimes. His contributions to Uganda's education cannot go unnoticed. We say, may his soul rest in eternal peace. Now we take a short break and we'll leave you with a Lady in Red. We'll come back shortly. Well, good morning, and welcome to Good Morning Uganda on this Thursday where we throw back. Yes, Thursday is a throwback day on Good Morning Uganda here on Uganda Broadcasting Corporation. We are coming to you live from the broadcast house here at Nile Avenue. I'm Olive Monica Najuma, and I'm thankful that you're waking up with us today to see what the day has got for us, and of course to look at the recent updates regarding the news and many stories that have occurred in our country but also around the world. And I'll take you to China. Many African leaders, over 50 of them, were welcomed in Beijing to talk about many issues, among others bilateral relations, to mention but a few. And right now I know that Kenya's Ruto and South Africa's Ramaphosa are already in Beijing. Now we will give you updates regarding that story and so much more as we go along. Now in Studio B, I have Jerome Paul Sonko, whom I think is wonderful like he always is. But let me ask, good morning, Sonko.
And good morning to our dear viewer this Thursday. Where we get to also throw back to some of those great memories that brought us back. Now, yesterday when the leader of the National Unity Platform was discharged from hospital following that incident that happened in Bulindo on Tuesday, it took me back to the days of retired Colonel Kizza Besigye, who then had been tear gassed in the eyes directly. I don't remember the year, but what I do know, it was one of those chaotic days in Uganda's opposition. And it being a Thursday, it took me back to that time when he had also been taken to Nairobi in order to receive further treatment, and then also his maiden return here in Uganda. So I was trying to compare the two when it comes to Uganda's opposition and how different opposition leaders have been going through it all in order to actually have their stand in regards to what they oppose of what the government does, or the policies or some of the policies of the government. But that said, the Thursday is good enough to kickstart off our weekend, which I believe would be of good importance to all of us, simply because it starts off tomorrow and it will be the very first of the month of September. But here we are in order to usher the Ugandans into what seems to be a wonderful Thursday.
It is indeed a wonderful Thursday. Now I have Robert Chirabo right here with me. Good morning, Robert. You look smart.
Oh, thank you.
How are you?
I'm fine. Just following events as they unfold in my motherland.
All right.
Sonko was talking about Kizza Besigye when he had issues with the eye when he was tear gassed. The same leader actually also had a shooting, but for him it was a rubber bullet that hit his ring finger. And I remember he was rushed to Kampala International Hospital, where he got some treatment, but also created a lot of actually the situation of shooting him with a rubber bullet on his ring finger created a similar suspension. Time we're investigating, we shall find out. But I think because Kizza Besigye has a military background, it was very easy for him to identify that this wasn't a bullet, it was a rubber bullet, not an actual bullet. But this situation we are seeing here, still, it's like history repeating itself. We've ever had it, we've ever had some little talk here and there, it was this, it wasn't this. So it just takes me back to someone who once said, there's nothing new under the moon. However, it also takes me back to those days when we didn't have this multi-party politics in our country, when it was one system, the movement system. I don't know if Sonko was there by then. Now there you would stand on individual merit. People would vote for you, people would elect you because of your ability. And you didn't have this following that because so and so, no, it was entirely on merit. We didn't have these so-called now, these are these are protecting so and so, these are protecting so and so, so and so has spoken. And it makes me ask myself, were we ready for multi-party dispensation, given the confusions in a number of political parties? We've seen political parties split day in, day out. We've seen people who do not understand and think that
Well, it is time for our newsreel. It's 4 minutes past 7 o'clock. I'm Olive Monica Najuma, and you are watching Good Morning Uganda. Right next to me is Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono, and I also have Jerome Paul Sonko in Studio B. Now, we last week had different conversations regarding the regional parliamentary sittings that kicked off in Gulu City. According to the Speaker of Parliament, Anita Annette Among, these were provided for in the Constitution, in the Rules and Procedure of Parliament. And she also said they were not breaking the law, they were not wasting taxpayers' money because the sittings were under the same budget that was allocated to the Parliament of Uganda. But the big question remained, why the regional sittings? Are they important? What is there to achieve by having sittings of Parliament in different regions of the country, that is northern, eastern, western and central Uganda? And the opposition in Parliament decided to sit the sittings in Gulu out, saying that they were a wastage of taxpayers' money. Now, many of their counterparts also said that the members of Parliament in the opposition were actually being being irrational not to attend these regional sittings. But now we have a new report coming through saying that leaders in Gulu are disappointed by the Gulu Parliament session. Why is this? This is now the aftermath of the sittings, and that's what we want to look into. Now I'll go to Jerome Paul Sonko in Studio B. That's where this conversation will start. And Jerome, I'll ask, the members of Parliament said bringing the sessions to the people would enable them to look at the problems that the region is grappling with and find sustainable solutions for the same. Why is it now that the leaders in Gulu City are now complaining that the session was rather dissatisfactory?
Well, according to some of the leaders in Gulu City, they believe that this particular sitting did not adequately address many of their pressing issues, because they looked at it from a side that since Parliament was heading to their region, and just like we had even discussed it earlier, that when if Parliament is moving into the region, because the movers of the same, move to see Parliament, move to the regions, were backing it in the sense that it is taking Parliament to the region so as we can get to understand and feel what different regions or constituencies under those regions are going through. Now, some of the leaders feel that there was issues that were supposed to be really looked into more, and it was not given adequate attention according to the sitting. Now, some of those particular ones is the dire poverty in some of the areas within northern Uganda, according to some of the local leaders here. And they say that some of the issues that they felt was also looking at the health sector, which they believe that not so much emphasis was put on that sector. And one of the key issues around the health sector within the northern region is that as much as the government is making sure that they extend these health services to the people, you get to realize that deep in the villages of those areas, some of them are lacking enough medical supplies, and they were expecting that some of these key issues are going to be discussed, which they feel Parliament did not give a lot of attention to. And then there is also an element of, the post-war issues, which was also among the things that Parliament actually discussed, but it does seem like many of the people, or some of the leaders in Gulu, wanted maybe Parliament to pretty much be on their side entirely in regards to these post-war issues. Then there is an element of of education. Now, when you look at our education setting within the country, you get to realize that most people, or even up to today, people believe that the central region has got enough, attention, or they have got enough resources when it comes to the education. However much it is not the same on ground, because you also realize that in most of these areas in the central region, there are also other schools that are not in the best conditions.
And it's important, Sonko, for us to distinguish for us, are these schools government-owned schools or private sector-led schools? Because it's one thing to say that the central region is okay when it comes to education, but we need to know, these schools in the central region, who owns them? Are they by the government? Are they funded by the government or not?
Now, most of the schools, when you look at the schools even in the central region, most of those schools that have better facilities that many of these leaders are not focusing on, like you mentioned, many of them are privately owned schools. Even when you go up country, you'll realize that most of the schools that are up to standard are privately owned schools, meaning there is always that, challenge when it comes to the government aided schools. And that is why some of the leaders were saying, well, I think bringing Parliament was okay, but we have issues, pressing issues. When you look at the health sector, we need more attention to it. You look at our education sector, we need more attention to it. And then when it comes to the bigger picture, or the biggest lion in the room being poverty. Now, best believe most of the upcountry regions, be it in eastern Uganda, or those that are deep-rooted in western Uganda or southwestern Uganda, and even within central region, when it comes to those areas in the villages where not so many people have the chance, to even, get 5,000 Ugandan shillings a day, you get to realize that poverty has become one of the biggest concerns for our communities and society today. And many of the leaders that are going to be hosting, or leaders that belong to the regions that are hosting the parliamentary sittings, because from there we shall be looking at other regions like the eastern region, and then the western region, and then finally the central region. Many of them are looking at it in a way that if Parliament is coming to our regions, maybe it will be an opportunity for our issues to be addressed. Now, poverty being the biggest issue in most of these areas, and some of the leaders feel Parliament did not give a lot of attention to that. Over the years, the government has been, coming up with different projects and different initiatives to ensure that they kind of lift household incomes. But you get to realize that not all regions are at the same level. And this meant that some of the leaders felt that Parliament really needed to put a lot of attention on some of the projects that are aimed at alleviating poverty within Gulu and the northern region.
Well, thank you, Jerome. Now, if you're just joining us, we are analyzing the first regional parliamentary sitting that took place in Gulu City, but it wasn't for only Gulu, it was for the entire West Nile region, to look at some of the problems and challenges these regions are facing and see how best Parliament could now come back to Kampala and put those issues forward and find solutions to the same. But now the leaders from those areas are complaining that they were not satisfied by how the sessions were done and how some of the problems and challenges that were put up were handled. Now, the James Nabinson Chidega, the resident district commissioner of Agago, said that Karamajong warriors are one of the issues that is facing this place, and he said that there are recurrent attacks in this region, and the people of northern Uganda need compensation for the loss of property and and lives. And he says that the debate on this was not conclusive. He further said a working document should have been developed, and he said that Norbert Mao, the Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs, said that there was a will by the president, but he argues that it should be beyond the will of the president, and it should get out of that, and it should be the mandate of the government to ensure that the Karamojong warriors issue is actually put to the rest. Now, Mr. Nyonyi Ntono, the RDC has really some strong sentiments on the issue of Karamojong warriors. What would you have to say about his perspective?
Now, the challenge we have in this country is that most of the times when certain things are happening, people do not understand how they are going to be done. For example, this wasn't a presidential tour of northern Uganda. That the president was going to visit northern Uganda, listen to people's concerns, then take affirmative action, because there he can order. You know, like when he was in northern Uganda and he's told, here, forests are being cut down. Remember the charcoal ban? And in response, immediately, this have done this. Like when all the Speaker of Parliament is about, Hashi doesn't do these area tours. Or it wasn't some gathering, it was Parliament. And you see, Parliament sitting in a different place does not change the order and their methodology of doing things.
So what's the purpose? What was the purpose? Why
now,
go to good?
The purpose was to focus on this particular area.
Yes.
But issues like you would have come up with a working this, we need affirmative action. You see, it doesn't, Najuma, if today we are going to do Good Morning Uganda at a certain hotel in Mukono, and this is our setting.
Yes.
We are not going to remove the newsreel and put music. Because we are in a department of music that they love to participate. You know? If we do it while seated with a table, we are not going to wake up one day and say, because we are at the MDD department, Makerere University, now let's do this thing while dancing. So Parliament has, you present, issues are noted, debated upon, captured, to influence the budget allocation to this area.
Now, his argument, the RDC of Agago, he says he found the debate and the submissions inconclusive.
Now, these were captured. And these are going to inform the next quarter. That is what we can wait for. It's still too early. The next quarter to see if this has influenced the budget allocation to key areas of concern. Because you must look at also the areas they discussed. Yes, this was a 3-day meeting, fine, yeah?
Yes.
Parliament City, Sonko, yes?
Because I've been looking at some of those areas that you're going to mention, and also some of the things that were discussed. There is something to do with physical infrastructure in the northern region, recruitment in local government. There is issues to do with medical interns, then the state and prospect of tourism, and then there was also petition for reform and enhancing the youth employment program in northern Uganda, and the Transitional Justice Bill and amendment of the administration of Parliament Bill in regards to the lead of opposition elections, as well as the chief whip.
So, Robert, continue.
Yeah, well, Sonko has mentioned exactly what I was going to say here. That when you look at these areas, they also look, apart from, I think, the administration of Parliament Bill, these were critical areas for people of northern Uganda when you talk about infrastructure. Now, right now, to think that we can look and analyze if there was value at this point, I think it's too early. However, I must say, to a certain extent, also these sittings were blown out of proportion. To a certain level, they promised heaven on earth. Those that were pushing for them. So I can feel the feel of the people. That when they were told for 3 days, we are going to totally concentrate on issues of northern Uganda, we have had committees of parliament go, they have, because we must understand that much as these were 3 days,
yes,
but key committees of parliament went on ground, carried out, he said how Parliament works, that everything may not come to the floor of Parliament, you know. So carried out fact-finding missions, got what was necessary to influence, because however much you narrate problems and debate about them, what you need are allocations to that.
Okay, now I understand the need for allocations, but I'll give you an example. Abed Wanika said a report by the committee, which is headed by Dr. Abed Wanika, highlighted several discrepancies, and among these was the issue of street children. They say that Parliament needed to establish a remedy, because they say that street children that we see in Kampala who come from that region are an issue, a post-war issue, but there wasn't a remedy that was given. Now, I understand the need for allocation, but shouldn't we have working remedies for some of these issues?
Now, when committees go and come out with the reports, like you said,
yes,
they have issues they have addressed. They either table them on the floor and the report is adopted and it's discussed there and then, or after this sitting, more work continues. Now, there are many problems of northern Uganda that I highly believe, if we were to look at them being addressed on the plenary of Parliament sitting in these 3 days, they would all never be covered. However, I said Parliament has various avenues of how it delivers its work. Now, with high concern of these various reports coming in,
yes,
and issues raised on the floor of Parliament, me, I can only wait at the allocation. Are we going to see more allocation to northern Uganda? Are we going to see more ways of monitoring and supervision to northern Uganda following these sittings? Now, that is when we will say that this was the budget it was getting. Even with these sittings, northern Uganda has either been chopped, maintained the allocation it's getting, or nothing much has happened. Now, we can only, in my opinion, wait for that time, because I believe the other areas away from the fact that, actually for me, my concern would have been that, you see, when we had these parliamentary sittings, much as they happened, our people we didn't see the hotels you told us who were sleeping far and driving to northern Uganda. The people who provided food, you know, the food they ate was not purchased in this area.
Those are the issues that would have concerned
now, what I'm saying, for Parliament, I believe it delivered. You get it?
But you
now,
see, some of the complaints coming through,
Ali, this is
Robert,
yes.
Some of the issues and complaints coming through are not even from just the regional leaders. Even the members of Parliament from West Nile feel that some of the issues were just mentioned. And when you mention that, let's wait for allocation, it's going to be a bit hard for an issue that was mentioned in passing to get the attention it needs. For instance, Patrick Lumumba, the mayor of Badege Laibi division, he says that there is a narrow road in his constituency that has claimed many lives, but he says it was just mentioned. And then other members of Parliament are saying that the employment of the youth from the northern region, the industrialization of the area, and even the education problem plus mandatory boarding schools in Karamoja were just things that were mentioned, yet these are the key issues that the area is grappling with. Now, coming back to you, Joram, do you, in as much as Robert says we should wait for allocation, what in your own perspective do you think should have been done to give the people of this region some bit of hope?
No, the hope is there. The fact that some of the things, like I shared earlier on, among the things that were discussed, you know, allocations, more allocations in the next financial year. Then you also look at infrastructure, because these are some of the issues to do with the development. Now, also when it comes to the issue of medical interns being part of those that were discussed. But to give people more...
I think the medical interns issue is a national issue.
No, that one is also a national issue.
Yes.
But when it comes to, you know, giving the people a ray of hope, I think there was something about, you know, the initial phases of the parliamentary sittings. some of the individuals within the regions thought that they would be part of the entire sitting and they would also share their views. And, you know, it's more like, Olive, when you're expecting a visitor at home, you expect that maybe when the visitor comes, for example, let's say your area member of parliament and your father says, please prepare, Honorable this and this is coming home to visit. You expect that you're not only going to be seated, but maybe to share a view or an opinion and say, Honorable member, this and this is happening. Or I want you to work on this. Now, this is where many of the regional leaders in Gulu City felt left out. And of course, remember, when Parliament was moving that side, it's because we have members of Parliament who have to discuss some of these critical issues, and then we have representatives from northern Uganda who had to represent the needs of the people of northern Uganda, however much it was in the north.
Okay, and this is what brings me to the next point of contention. When these sittings were about to be rolled out, the opposition, especially the National Unity Platform Party, said there is nothing you're going to discuss in Gulu that can't be discussed from Kampala. Even if it is an issue to do with West Nile, it can still be handled on the floor of Parliament here in the central region in Kampala, where Parliament sits. And many Ugandans on different social media sites like X have also been of this sentiment, saying, does going to Gulu change the fact that the problems in this area will remain and the solutions will still have to be discussed and found from Kampala? Jerome, before Robert answers, because I would like to get your perspective, both of you gentlemen, on the same issue. Do you think, do you see any advantage of these sittings being brought to the people, especially given that even when they were taken to West Nile, it is still the members of Parliament that were speaking, addressing each other like it is done in Kampala? Or do you think that it should have been done differently, that regional leaders should have not been just spectators, but also participants in these discussions?
When it comes to the parliamentary committees, when, for example, there is a bill being passed in Parliament, you get to realize that most of the movers of the bill normally do those nationwide, you know, consultations. And
but this was a parliamentary sitting.
Yes,
it
true.
was beyond the
why
consultation.
I'm driving this conversation into this is that when anything is going to be passed in Parliament, you get to realize that people do, you know, regional consultations as well. Now, when it comes to whether, you know, there was an impact of it, you know, being moved to the regions, it is a 50-50 for me. Why? One, like you mentioned, these same conversations or these same ideas would be shared here in Parliament in Kampala, and we would have met a solution. Then two, if we've not found the solutions, even when we are discussing many of those solutions in Kampala, the chances are very minimal that we shall find the solutions when we take Parliament to, let's say, a different region. But on the side of Parliament taking it to the region, there is also an advantage. Which advantage is it? You know, there was an argument that not so many members of Parliament have moved to different regions to critically understand what these regions are facing, which is also true, because some of the members of Parliament, and we can as well, you know, agree on this, Olive, that even in media, you get to realize that there is a moment in time when there is a conversation open for discussion, and as anyone or any of us, we may fall short of giving details if at all we've not been in the area before. So this is where it comes in as an advantage for one members of Parliament to pretty much understand that within these regions, this and this is the problem. So if we are to find a solution when we return to Kampala and break down or analyze our regional sittings, we should then know that in northern region, there was something we used to discuss, but it seems it's even deeper because of what we observed when we were there.
Okay, Jerome, thank you. And I'll take those as your last shots. But Chirabo, as I come to you on the same question, One wonders, did the members of parliament even get to observe the issues people of West Nile are grappling with, given that they were well ensconced in Gulu city, which is beautiful, nice hotels, nice food. I don't feel like they went to the grassroots to see where the problem really is. But I would like to hear your sentiments on whether or not the sittings were really beneficial.
Well, when I look at issues addressed, physical infrastructure in northern Uganda, recruitment in local government, we have the suspects of tourism, boarding facilities in Karamoja, poverty alleviation, and compensation of war victims in northern region as among the issues discussed. Now, I feel and I understand for the local leaders, you know, I come from a Christian family. If they told you the Archbishop is coming to visit, and among the homes he's going to visit is your home, and due to time he doesn't visit your home, I feel what it means. So if a local leader expected and prepared something to discuss, and he wasn't given priority to discuss that, I understand and feel, more so if they are politicians, because being seen at such an opportunity, deliberating, has a mileage to you. But we must remember that the committees were there before and were meeting these people, understanding the issues affecting them, and they presented them to be discussed. Now, whether this could have been done in Kampala or not, it is a 50-50. One, Sonko rightly mentioned, exposure is a very important issue. And I saw some that escorted the speaker to the late speaker's home, went to the radio stations. Others were doing all sorts of visiting around. Then also committee members, also members of parliament, were in the region earlier enough to get that feel and collect these views. So for me, I'm saying it's still a bit early for us to gauge. Yes, some demanded for affirmative action, immediate. But you see, parliament
doesn't work like that.
Doesn't work like that. That immediate, you know. It is rare that you see maybe the speaker saying, having discussed this, we now recommend that this must be done there and then. So affirmative action may not have happened as quick as they expected.
Thank you, Robert. Now, I have a few comments coming in, and one is from Silva Mutukula Chaka, and he says the regional parliamentary sittings concept would be good and impactful if only these sittings intended to object to issues pertaining the regions where this exercise was held. But the recent one in Gulu only turned out to be more of a pre-political drive activity that was expected of the sitting. That is from Silva Mutukula Chaka. And Ratib Mahmoud from Koboko says, according to me, the citizens should just expect nothing from these regional sittings because each constituency sent a representative to parliament. So what is the purpose of involving the whole parliament to be moving from region to region? I think most of these members of parliament have invested a lot in terms of personal infrastructure, so they just want to promote their businesses, because when they shift the parliament to their areas, definitely it is their facilities to be used. Otherwise, is the government also planning to put up parliamentary buildings in all regions? That is from Ratib Mahmoud. And lastly, Samuel Becker Opio says, I think the best outcome of this sitting is in various regions is to address regional problems, but if not like that, it's meaningless to have these kind of sittings. Northern region has many problems that need government attention rather than mere promises. Thank you so much for your views, and this is where our conversation will end. Up next is Good Morning Uganda Tourism Express. Stick with us.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC.
He expected me to die like within the first 2 years.
Out of the blue, the child will get pains, especially in the wrists. And this happens commonly when children are starting to walk.
Was brought to you by Now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21 hash and select daily, or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archived stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, every story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Juko. Yo. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. But what you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that.
Okay.
The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Gange tubona kiranda amina mu company eya WIB Uganda Limited ndi member. Wemba member company eno weyeida twalinga tutuli bulungi nga abashala abe wakawaka. Abashala abe wakawaka tuwemera kubaami baife nga bonkana abajamu nandanga twidinti abashala tibakozesa ki nanda. UN Women weyeida yatuteekateeka yatwegesa okulunda engege nga abashala. Twatandika beno okudulunda n'okudirisa n'okolaki twafuna mu ng'abakyala ababujiri district. Abakyala babujiri district sofa tuli abakyala 14 abakola project eya WIB. Abakyala 14 twayawula mu sectors. Mulimu abakyala ba production, abaliisa, mwaba abakyala ba validation, abongera engege omutindo bayongerako omutindo. Twaba n'abakyala ba harvesting, aba harvestinga. Twaba n'abakyala abakolaki aba marketing. Sector donna did trained era did chedikola ki chedikola. Project eno tufunye mu nga abakyala. Government yaife ne ya Uganda njebaza. Okuja kwe kujanga batulingirira mu nga abakyala abana Uganda. Eri kujanga etrobingira ebibina bingi. We have UWeb, baleta parish development model. We have Myoga. Byona biri kwida muki mu bakyala. Oba mu bantu abaki aba Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Uganda Business Updates. My name is Jerome Paul Sonko and here we are off for the world of business. Starting it off with the National Agriculture Research Laboratories, which has developed a new biological control method to combat the devastating papaya mealbug. Now, the invasion of the specialized parasitoids marks a significant step forward in managing the pest which has plagued papaya gardens across the country. Now, that said, the papaya mealybug, scientifically known as Paracoccus marginatus, is an invasive pest that feeds up to the sap of the plants, particularly the papaya trees. Now, when papaya mealybugs infest the plant, they pierce the plant tissue and also suck up the sap, which leads to yellowing of the leaves, stunted growth, or even death of the plant, and thereby causing severe commercial effects to the farmer up to 70%. Now, the National Agriculture Research Laboratories is now working on biological sustainable ways to combat this pest, which is one of the most successful measures being an introduction of a tiny parasitic wasp into an infested garden, which declines the population of the mealybug. Now, this technology is now being passed out to extension farmers from districts of Nakaseke, Nakasongola, Hoima, Kamoli, Masaka, and Kayunga. And these are being scaled in ways of growing and application of parasitoids of the same. Now, this particular method is not the environmentally friendly, but at least it's cost effective and can have harmful effects on both the environment and human health. Rather, it can reduce the harmful effects on both human as well as environmental health. Now, away from that, we talk matters accounting in the country because members of the public have been encouraged to secure a better future by using this environment wisely, and this is according to the Executive Director of the Uganda National Roads Authority, Alan Kagina, This is according to the Executive Director of the Uganda National Roads Authority, Alan Kagina, who emphasized the importance of restoring vegetation cover following the environmental damage recently, or following the different kind of environmental crisis that we've been dealing with as a country. Now, she was delivering a keynote address at the 29th Accountants Seminar hosted by the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Uganda at the Imperial Resort Hotel in Entebbe. Now, the Executive Director of the Uganda National Roads Authority, Alan Kagina, asked accountants and other community members to uphold environmental standards by ensuring sustainability and fostering trust within their sectors. The ED highlighted that environmental abuse, such as climate change, adversely affects communities, ecosystems, and overall sustainability standards. But that said, she commended accountants for prioritizing environmental issues in their development efforts and pledged support for these initiatives. Now, Josephine Osia, president of ICPAU, stressed that driving sustainability and trust is very critical for national growth, and at the same time urged the accountants to continuously update their skills and enhance the standards of their financial reporting. Now, meanwhile, Ronald Mutumba, who is the vice president of ICPAU, announced the launch of the Benevolent Fund designed to support accountants facing social economic challenges. But at the top of it, the seminar, which drew close to 2,000 participants from Rwanda, Burundi, Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda, focused on ensuring ongoing professional development and adherence to standards among accountants. Now, this particular event was also addressed by Derek Nkanja, who's the CEO of ICPAU. Now, let's head to the regional level, and this time around looking at Africa's aviation sector. Now, over the years, Ethiopian Airways has been one of those biggest profitable airlines, and many of the African airline charters have also been coping up and getting up to speed with the same levels. Now, our focus this very morning takes us to Rwanda Air, because new developments coming in from Rwanda do reveal that Rwanda Air targets to double its current fleet within 5 years, currently having 14 of the aircraft, and the chances are in the next 5 years they want to double it up to 28. Now, this follows a new report according to the Rwanda Physical Risk Statement for the financial year 2024-2025. Rwanda Air has progressively reduced its physical risks by augmenting its own revenues. Now, it pointed out that the airline saw a substantial increase in its total revenues of about 82% of 620.6 billion randese franc in 2023 from 341 billion randese franc in 2022. Now, such progress was registered after a drop in revenues from 334 billion randese franc in 2019 to 300 billion randese franc in 2020 and 271 billion franc in 2021, according to the same physical risk statement. Now, Rwanda Air records 80% of revenue growth in 2023. But that said, this is the fifth physical risk statement of the government of Rwanda, which is produced by the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning. It also outlines the risks with the physical impact stemming from various sources, and also the government is mitigating measures to reduce the impact. Now, when you look at the 2 years when the dip in the airline revenues occurred, this reflects on the COVID-19 pandemic that shocked the travel and tourism industry, and many of the players in the aviation sector were facing losses or accounting losses during that same time. But that said, one would wonder what really contributed to Rwanda Air's revenue increase. Now, the Rwanda Air CEO, Yvonne Manzi Makolo, revealed to the Times, the New Times, on September 2nd, that since the pandemic, the airline has seen an exceptional level of growth. Rwanda Air has actually been one of the most significant, players when it comes to the increase of Rwanda's tourism industry. And it has also been a key driver of, the Rwanda tourism initiative of Visit Rwanda and the extensive network connecting Africa to the world with highly successful European and Middle East routes. This is also according to what the Rwanda Air CEO revealed. Now, the airline has become a key to the government's ambitious tourism plans, which also saw the country at least have 1.4 million tourists arriving in Rwanda in 2023. But that said, that is almost triple of 2021, meaning after the COVID-19 pandemic or post-COVID era in Rwanda has seen an increase of travelers heading out in Kigali. But not only that, it has also recorded quite a number of tourists heading into the land of 1,000 hills. Now, Kigali is now the second most popular city for conferences after Cape Town in Africa, and this tourism growth is very much down to the various connections that Rwanda Air has also been able to establish and the different routes it has been able to head out to. Now, when you look at Rwanda Air, opening Kigali to the world, Rwanda Air is one of those pivotal players within Rwanda and the tourism sector of Rwanda in general. Now, beyond tourism, the CEO of Rwanda pointed out investment in Rwanda Air's cargo is key to business growth, which is pretty much something they look at as a strong priority after what happened in 2023. Now, according to information from Rwanda Air's website, the airline has a fleet of 14 aircraft that comprises of the Boeing 737-800NG and 2 Boeing 737-700NG, and then 2 CRJ-900NG, and then 2 Bombardier Q400NG, all in dual class configuration, and 2 new triple class FRS. So that is it from Rwanda's perspective, and maybe we can pick a leaf from the same when it comes to aviation for our very own Uganda Airlines. But now, that said, we look at the forex market to see how different currencies have been faring on the exchange and to see how the Ugandan shilling has been faring against different currencies. In the morning yesterday, the US dollar was buying at 3,722.64 shillings, while selling at 3,732.64. There was a slight change by midday because it was a drop as the US dollar was buying at 3,718.68, while against the shilling trading at 3,728.68. Now buying, the US dollar was buying at 3,718.45, while selling at 3,728.45. That was at closing time yesterday. Now closing time of the Great Britain pound, buying was 4,875.25 shillings, while selling was 4,888.37 shillings. The euro was buying at 4,110.37 shillings, while selling at 4,121.42. The Kenyan shilling was buying at 28.88 shillings, while selling at 28.95 shillings. The Tanzanian shilling was buying at 1.37 shillings, while selling at 1.37 shillings. And then looking at the South African rand, it was buying at 206.59 shillings, while selling at 207.14 shillings. That does it for our business updates this very morning. I'll be back Monday for the latest in the world of business. Saturday at 8:30 p.m. we do have the Business Roundup show playing on UBC as we give you a roundup of the trending business stories within and outside the country. But as of now, Good Morning Uganda does continue. Olive Monica Najuma is here with the traffic updates. Good morning.
Good morning. It's time for our traffic updates. My name is Olive Monica Najuma. Now we start from Chureka Road to see how we can maneuver and get to other parts of town. Now what we see right now on Chureka Road is a traffic jam coming the side of town and a little bit of traffic jam that is going the side of Boyogere as you move along the Kampala Jinja Highway. Still on Chureka Road, there are phases of smooth flow of traffic and other stations where you will encounter traffic jam. Now there is a stretch where Chinawataka Road and Chureka Road join, and here you're going to experience intense traffic jam, especially for the people that are going the opposite side of town. But those also coming to town, you're going to encounter intense traffic jam still on Chureka Road. Continuing with the Chureka Road, where it connects to Chinawataka Road, that intersection, we see that for those going Chinawataka side, you will encounter traffic jam, but those coming morning, and still following Chireka Road, you will experience smooth flow of traffic. Now, still going with Chireka Road, I look at the Robert Mugabe Road. There is smooth flow of traffic coming through from that side. Continuing with Chireka Road, we still have smooth flow of traffic. And still following the same, we will encounter a section along Chireka Road right before Chalema Road. Here we will encounter a bit of traffic jam, not so intense, and as we approach Kunya, we still have smooth flow of traffic. Old Butabika Road is also bringing in a smooth flow of traffic, and as Chireka Road joins Chitintale Road, I don't see any traffic jam coming through from Chitintale Road. Continuing with the same, where Ismail Road joins Chireka Road, there is smooth flow of traffic over here. I'd like for us to actually go with Ismail Road and see how it connects to the environs of Bugolobi. For now, we have smooth flow of traffic along Ismail Road, and continuing with the same, I see that we still have smooth flow of traffic where it joins Chalema Road. But when we look at the other side of Ismail Road, as you head to the side of Bugolobi, I see a bit of traffic jam, and where it joins Chwatu Road and Old Port Bay Road, here we are experiencing traffic jam. Following Chwatu Road, there is a bit of traffic jam here at the start, but when you go along with it, at least for this moment, we still have smooth flow of traffic as it now transitions into Robert Mugabe Road. Now, continuing with New Port Bay Road, I see that we have smooth flow of traffic here as well. And going with the same for a good distance, we have smooth flow of traffic. Now we are in the environs of Bugolobi, but joining the Kampala-Jinja Highway, and here is where you're going to encounter traffic jam. But it is important to note that this area has traffic lights, so the traffic jam you're seeing here is because of the traffic lights. Now, when you follow the Kampala-Jinja Highway as you head into town, you will experience smooth flow of traffic. Even as the Lugogo bypass joins the Kampala-Jinja Highway, we still have smooth flow of traffic. Now, there is a bit of traffic jam coming through from 4th Street as it connects to the Kampala-Jinja Highway, but for the most part, there is smooth flow of traffic in this area. And that's where our traffic updates for the day will end. I'm Olive Monica Najuma, and Good Morning Uganda does continue. Stick with us. Coming up next is Agenda.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC.
He expected me to die like within the first 2 years.
Out of the blue, the child will get pains, especially in the wrists. And this happens commonly when children are starting to walk.
Was brought to you by You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21# and select daily, or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Juko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better.
kangendeyo kati.
Weda yangu wa. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archive stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, every story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Amazina gange ndetibwa Nakiranda Amina mu company Aviation Uganda Limited ndi member. Wemba member company eno weyeida twalinga tutuli bulungi nga abakyala abe waka. Abakyala abe waka tuemera kuba mi baife nga bonkana abajamu nanda nga twidi nti abakyala tebakozesa ki nanda. UN Women weyeida yatuteekateeka yatwegesa okulunda engege nga abakyala. Twatandika beno okudulunda n'okudirisa n'okolaki twafuna mu ng'abakyala ababujiri district. Abakyala ababujiri district sofa tuli abakyala 14 abakola project eya web. Abakyala 14 twayawula mu sectors. Mulimu abakyala ba production abaliisa, mwaba abakyala ba validation abongera engege omutindo bayongerako omutindo, twaba n'abakyala ba harvesting abaharvestinga, twaba n'abakyala abakola aba marketing. Sector dona diri trained era didi kyedikola ki kyedikola. Project eno tufunyemu nga abakyala. Government yaife ne Uganda njebaza okujja kujanga batulingirira mu nga abakyala abana Uganda. Eri kujanga eturobingira ebibiina bingi. We have UWeb, baleta parish development model, we have myoga. Byona biri kwida muki mu bakyala oba mu bantu abaki aba Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
You are watching Good Morning Uganda. Time for our agenda segment. It's 2 minutes past 8 o'clock on this Thursday morning. I'm Olive Monica Najuma, and I can't thank you enough for sticking with us and starting your morning with us, where we give you topical discussions. We also inspire you, and we also entertain you, because that's our mandate as the national broadcaster. Now, as 2026 draws closer, we will be going into the national general elections, where we will be choosing new leaders or re-electing the existing ones, and that is from the grassroots up to the highest office in the land, which is the presidency. But with this comes a lot of mismanagement sometimes, especially when it comes to voter information and education. And would like to look at the impact of mismanagement in civic and voter education on political stability and electoral reforms. I'd like for you to be part of this conversation because elections are part of us, and as Ugandans, it is our civic duty to choose our leaders. It's important for you to know what to do, when to do it, when the election cycle comes across, and it is very soon. We only have a year and we'll be choosing new leaders. Some of you are already tired of your members of parliament. You say you've never seen them since they were voted into parliament. Now this is your chance. But before we get to that, we have to have some bit of education to understand what we are doing at every level. This concerns all of us. Now I'm having this conversation with Mr. Vianney Matovu Ngoma, who is the Chief Whip at FRONASA. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, madam.
You're welcome to Good Morning Uganda.
Thank you too.
Yes. Now, elections. This excites me. I like it when the country is going into the election cycle because it gives many Ugandans an opportunity to have a say into the matters of the country and also who they should have as their leaders. But now when it comes to the whole aspect of elections and voter education, there are issues right there. And to start with, I would like to know, I would like for you to define what civic and voter education entails and why it is very crucial for a healthy democracy.
Civic education shouldn't be seasonal, but due to the mismanagement, it is seasonal. We wait until we are in the eve of elections. So the civic education, before the promulgation of the Constitution 1995, was being managed by Electoral Commission, together with voter education, those two. Then when the advent of of 1995 Constitution ushered in the civic education being managed by Uganda Human Rights Commission, because it is a process of educating the citizens about their civic rights, responsibilities to have a peaceful society. Because for it entailing rights and the Electoral Commission having that mandate of the rights of citizens, they changed it to Uganda Human Rights Commission. Then Electoral Commission remained with voter education. Then they don't educate voters. They wait until, because they are moving it with what they call road map. They first wait for the road to the elections. It should be a daily routine, because these two, when you marry them together, they are the ones which create disharmony within the political parties. And within the same political parties, civil strife and fragmentations. Because people, they don't have that art of knowing that they have to read and accommodate others. And they don't know that though you are in the same party or in different parties, you have different views. So they come by enforcing that you have to adapt and stomach my own views. It is now becoming an enforcement than a dialogue. To dine on issues of elections, of who has a right to choose his own person of choice.
Interesting. Well, we are having a conversation on the impact of mismanagement in civic and voter education on political stability and electoral reforms, and how electoral reforms ordered by courts are influencing political fragmentation and civil strife in the country. Join the conversation through WhatsApp number 0709 602-592. Let's have your views, let's have your questions. I have a seasoned, you're not a politician.
Yeah.
But you are seasoned in the matters to do with the governance and understanding of the electoral process.
Yeah.
Yes, and this gentleman is Mr. Vianney Ngoma from Afronasa. He is the chief whip for Afronasa. And Mr. Vianney, when you look at the political and the electoral space in our country, how would you assess it?
The assessment is entirely being excluding the citizens. When the Electoral Commission is forming a roadmap, they only sit in their own boardroom. Because we have a problem in Uganda of scholasticism, scholastic. That one who is educated doesn't consider the uneducated. And those who are in service, they don't consider those who are not in service. They always grapple with one word: it is our own mandate. They execute their mandate, therefore excluding the ideas of the practitioners in that field. That's why conflicts and disagreements arose. Because when the Electoral Commission comes with its roadmap, it only enforces on those who will practice in the electoral drive. It doesn't even call for, so it should be going into the regions, conducting what we call citizen assemblies, so that they can correct the views of the population, come with them and package them, come out with a common roadmap than phrasing theirs. And that one goes with the legislative arm of the nation. Legislators dream on the day broad light in their house by putting a nomination fee. They don't know how my pocket or my financial muscle, which it affords. They say a councillor nomination fee is this one, MP this one, presidency this one.
But Mr. Vianney, let me come in here. If you're going to contest in, let's say, the presidential race or the member of parliament race or councillor, shouldn't you be a bit heavy in the wallet to a certain degree? Let me give you an example. We have said that one of the biggest undoings in our politics is the commercialization of politics. And because of this, the people who are rich are the people that are now pushing forward their children, their kin, to mention but a few. So if there is a certain nomination fee, isn't this helping to cut some people off that would probably come and become parasites on the money that is supposed to enrich Ugandans?
No, this one is representing and delegating the society. It is not who has the money and who is not. This race is for the caliber and the magnitude, how you can balance the society and lead them. It is that science only. But for an economic monopoly and geopolitical monopoly, which it infiltrated the elections and the elective mandate, it influenced it by producing quack leaders. Because how much you invest in is how much you wish to ripe in. Because others may be forced to get loans. When they reach in parliament and in local government entirely, when you cut it across, you have to recover the money back. Others are hiding. You remember one situation when our honorable MPs were hiding in the precincts of parliament so that they know that house is immune, no police officer, no banker can confront them too. And we had a rumor that they were even sleeping there in the parliament. But now, when they are being infested with such a problem, they have to devise means and create a misappropriation so that they can recover the money.
Okay.
and pay back.
Now go
and remember, it accrues abnormal interest.
That's true.
Because it is conditioned.
Yes.
And you don't have the right to rebuttal with them to cut the interests because
No,
you
you
are
don't.
in crisis.
You're in crisis. That's true. Who pays the piper calls the tune. So if you go for a loan, the person giving you the loan or the institution giving you the loan will have its own terms and conditions. And because you're in a crisis, you must abide. Now, let's go back to where you were saying that the appropriation of, let's say, nomination fees is the beginning of the problem.
Yeah, it is the basis entirely to daten the exercise. And Electoral Commission should exercise its mandate to regulate them. In case they cite that you are canvassing, bribing, and doing a sort of all those in the elections, they should disqualify, because this is a free and fair game. It's not a game of who champions the other in the wallet, as you have said. It is not a wallet matter. So this one will create the vampires. There is what we call economic vampires. Those who are viewing us, they can Google the characteristics of economic vampires.
And
They
economic
will-
hitmen.
And economic hitmen. They
Yes.
will see who they are because those indicators are being viewed. This is why you reach a level of getting a leader who is not worthy the public. And at times they are too arrogant. They say, I paid you.
That's right.
Why are you demanding the services?
I invested, I
Yes.
sold my land.
I must-
People have sold houses to get into parliament. But now, still on the issue of voter education and voter and civic and voter education, Mr. Vianney, I would like for us to look at the most recent election cycles. Let's go back to 2011, then 2016, and then 2021. How has voter and civic education, how was it mismanaged in these last three election cycles?
We hit on how the Electoral Commission is conducting it. It has never conducted it in any way. It should be making a calendar that this time we shall be in Mbare, here, and they conduct it. And the budget of civic education and voter education should be higher than the other budgets, because they have to sensitize to create a peaceful nation. As they don't sensitize, people not knowing their rights, this is why you find police and other state agencies coming in to regulate those consultations. The law prescribes that when I have a motive to contest, come 2026, I have to first consult the electorate and get views. That is the parameter where you can gauge yourself that you will best manage the race. When you reach there and they advise you that please don't tamper, you are going to lose, you can withdraw before losing your wisdom to
But do
them.
they even listen? Or munjogera ya lero babiwulira?
Yes. The reason why they don't abide by what is written on the written law is one, the available information on all platforms, because the available information is disenchanting them. When you are going to hear service award to a certain person called honorable,
Yes.
is taking billions. Luxurious cars are being bought. The citizens are earning with services at root. Even a primary school is not there. They are creating these seed schools. A seed school is not getting a competition grant, worse the other one which is fetching from the treasury. So they say, as we send this one to represent our views, They have represented their stomachs. Let us also change the behavior.
Okay, now that brings us to the next point of discussion, voter turnout. Has the mismanagement in civic and voter education influenced or impacted the low voter turnout in the last election cycles?
It is the primary core that affects the voter turnout, because some voters, one time, there is one voter was saying, as they don't deliver service, I will not vote. And because they don't have that civic art of knowing that that one who doesn't deliver, you have to oust him out. Actually, with your vote.
Many Ugandans, and it saddens me, when you look at what you'd call the elite Ugandans, these are people that are exposed and have gone to school, they're in most cases the people who say, politics, I don't want to be bothered. I'm not going to vote because they do this and do this and do this, so I'm not going to vote. And in essence, you find that the semi-illiterate or illiterate are the ones that are making the decision of which leaders we should have as a country. Does it still go back to voter and civic education mismanagement?
It still rolls back to voter and civic education, because civic education prepares the ground, materially informs the people of what is the essence of elective and representative mandate. They still know what they will get from getting leaders. Others, they think these honorables, they are their masters. They don't know that the population is the one which is masterly to those leaders because of lacking that civic education. And we should charge them with that obligation to read it. And you let me give you, when I am having a civic rally here, the police, because it has a penal code, it doesn't have civic laws, they come and charge me with unlawful assembly.
Yes.
Because they will execute management of the public order, POMA,
yes.
Public Order Management
yes.
Act. So you find a conflict of laws arising in what we should do. When it entails elections, the police should intervene with the directive of Electoral Commission and Human Rights Commission. Because the law was made in a crippled way, that the police has a right to arrest you when you are about to commit an offense.
When you're about to commit an offense.
How can the police?
How do you know that I'm going to commit an offense?
Have that IQ of detection. I don't know whether they are operating like sorcerers, like these forecasters and foretellers.
So they are basically, we have the way we have the meteorological authority to tell us about the weather.
Yeah.
The police is forecasting.
Forecasting.
Crime.
Crime. They can even fabricate. That is a room of creating a way how police can fabricate charges against you. And you see, now the police is operating like the platform handlers. Before investigations, they can give out a statement. And they don't, the police doesn't, and other leaders, not only the police, doesn't buy our historical background. Let me give you an example, which happened of recent. This entailing my brother Chagulanyi.
The incident this week in Bulindo.
The police behaved like the junta government of Amin, because when you bring Maria Mungu here, Maria Mungu tells you that John Anurum, Archbishop, died in an accident. They didn't wait for the investigations. Likewise here, they said stumbled. Then later, they said we shall wait the results of the medical personnel to guide the investigations. And they know that In the case of criminalities of such a nature, it is police and doctor. That's why the police should have made a medical form. And now they will not get the real investigations because the police didn't make police form. These ones whisked him to Zambia. Those ones will write on their own. They can even confiscate them because the police has not requested for the medical form. The doctors have their laws governing them. The police only comes by police form to request for a medical report. So therefore, that mismanagement and cutting across is very bad to our society. And it is what is causing the society to be so much criminal than tolerance.
So are you saying that there is a correlation between voter mismanagement and political unrest that we have experienced in the country in recent years?
So that unrest is being caused that for us all, we don't know. And we don't admit that we don't know. And we don't want to run and be guided. Everybody jumps in. It is just a drama. The police should consult before raiding into action. Electoral Commission should consult. Mostly those who engage in observatory role. For example, for us, we always observe those elections and write recommendations and reports to them, but they don't implement them.
Who do you write the reports and recommendations to?
To the chairperson, Electoral Commission.
But they never act on them?
Yes, because we don't have their feedback. That your report was mentioning the following, that which transpired within the past and post-elections. Therefore, the recommendations were 10. Out of 10, we have covered this and this and this. And they come out and be accountable to Ugandans. The accountability now rests in Parliament. Every department of government only takes the report to Parliament. It should change. They should be taking a report to the public and get the public opinion and views about that report, and the Parliament should be copied too. For example, we are here handling civic education and voter education, which is a mandate, the civic education, which is a mandate of Human Rights Commission. Human Rights Commission doesn't give us a report. Writes a report, takes it to Parliament. And when Parliament is playing an oversight role, we are not there to oversee them and see whether an oversight is typical oversight or they have enclosed themselves in a corridor to diriddle into a deal. Because we must watch. We must keep them at watch.
Are you saying that Parliament has become a house of deals?
Yeah. Because why do you hide? When it is a report, get some delegates of the local leadership. They sit there. They see how you are running their affairs. These affairs are the affairs of the population, not the affairs of the representatives.
That's very key.
Yes.
That's very key. Now, we are also looking at the reforms that have been ordered by courts of law. And what are some of the major electoral reforms that have been ordered by the courts of laws in recent years?
Major reforms are innumerable. I can cite one.
Like
they
what?
were to change how the Electoral Commission manages their affairs. But what Parliament as a legislative arm didn't put executional body. You know what helps judiciary is one. After the adjudication, there is court by reliefs who executes court decrees and orders. In these adjudications of elections, we don't have executors. It so rests with the Attorney General and other implementers. If they don't implement, no execution. What they should do, they should amend that any electoral ruling must be executed by this body, or they give the mandate, electoral commission, to execute. If they direct that Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs should amend the following, and it so delays, the electoral commission should go back to court, or another appointed body, they should put a body to execute. This is why you find an order is passed, it doesn't take root because there is no executor. So that body can go to court, gets a warrant of execution, and executes it to that organ of government that is directed to correct the situation.
So in your experience, have these court-ordered reforms, electoral reforms, been able or not? Have they been able to address the issues related to voter and civic education, or they have failed?
They have failed because the law is clear. I can't be a judge at the same time executor and at the same time an implementer. So after the judgment, for example, you take this one, Amama and Baba's versus Electoral Commission and others. After, when it was adjudicated, it rests. No execution body to implement that court order. So when it is affecting me, say like Electoral Commission, I am embarrassed. You know, these lawyers, when they are writing, they say that we shall drag you into court at your peril and embarrassment. So I only stomach the embarrassment, I don't implement. It so rests there. This is where I am raising a point of concern, which pinching Ugandans that there should be an implementing body in matters related to electoral orders and reforms emanating from
the courts of law.
Courts of law.
Now, in the last election that we had, the person who came second, Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, went to court, and he was against the results that had been presented. But later on, they pulled out his party and himself. They said they cannot trust the judiciary to give them justice. And from your own perspective and experience, I've seen this happen several times. Okay, Kyagulanyi pulled out, but then we have seen many petitions every after an election. Now, those that are participating in the constituency elections, members of parliament, we've seen courts pronouncing some people losers and others winners. But why is it that when it comes to the presidential election, the petitioners usually either don't agree with the outcome of the court or they pull out?
That situation is embedded with the appointments of the judges. Suspicion arose that as they are being appointed by the winning candidate, they may not give out a favorable judgment. Secondly, legislature made a mistake, gave judiciary mandate, everything to move at the discretion of the presiding judge or magistrate. When it goes at the discretion by interpretation, he owns it. And the court is allowed, whether they see that you are right, to judge otherwise. What you do to save your grievances, you appeal. You cannot incriminate that court that you erred in law. These are the ground of errors. Face a penalty here. It is only at his discretion can decide to give out an ungenuine judgment with the right of appeal. That's where they relieve you there.
So you can
the right of appeal.
The
right of appeal
yes.
affects either the plaintiff or the respondent because it takes time.
It does.
In law, there are some tactics of buying time.
That's right.
When it buys time, you may reach in the appeal and they say that, we no longer entertain this because it is bad by time.
Oh yes, where they say you didn't file in the right court, you didn't file in the right time, and so they will throw out this case on a
They
technicality.
grill you with jurisdiction. They have what they call jurisdiction. And they cannot say that for me, I'm not a magistrate, I don't know the jurisdictional mandate or the jurisdictional structures. That let's favor him and correct the jurisdiction. They only throws it out. If they are to weaken you, they can throw it out with costs. And they tax. When they tax the costs, they can quickly have you committed as a debtor, a civil debtor, or a civil creditor, as they term it.
Okay. Has this maybe contributed to more strife among political parties and factions?
Yes, it contributes to more civil strife and internal fragmentations, because you hear some views rallying on the press. We have failed here in this court. We are going in the public court. What is public court?
It's not under the judiciary, and in the court of public opinion, you can
when
either lose
or
win.
court of the public
Yes.
is to come out with statements which are not constructive. Enough
and
is enough.
statements that could lead to civil
Chaos.
strife and chaos.
Enough is enough. This is what is causing all this.
And the problem
the
is that,
Electoral Commission
yes,
shouldn't keep quiet, should regulate this, should say, we have come out with the following guidelines. Every leader of every party and other councillors at the local level from top down, these are the guidelines. But they leave us to move as we move in our own dramatic way. When it comes with chaos, then the police jumps in. Then they end up incriminating police. At this time, it is not police, it is Electoral Commission. Because the chairperson, Uganda Human Rights Commission, at least she has come out with an action. But with the Electoral Commission, it has not given us any statement about the incident that took place. But Mariam Wangadia came out and said, and tasked a team to investigate. But the Electoral Commission seems not concerned. And the Electoral Commission is playing Semgayavu. It's too lazy. They wait for us to go there. Let it be in times of nominations when you don't go there to pick forms. They don't highlight all these things so that we can lead an informed society. The best for peaceful practice of this political game is to have an informed society. When we don't have an informed society, we shall sustain more and more severe, because contradictions start as minor, later on they grow to major contradictions.
That's very true. Now, when we speak about the society, I think about civil society, and where the Electoral Commission has failed to do civic education and voter education, this is where civil society comes in. And do you think or feel that they have done enough when it comes to when it comes to voter and civic education, or there is more work that they can do? And I would like for us to even go back to the Electoral Commission. You say they tasked a team to go and investigate the incident that happened recently, but then there has also been discontent regarding the Human Rights Commission, where it is said, how do we trust the findings that you're going to give us, given that you are still elected and paid by the appointing body, or the appointing person is still the person who is in charge of the country. The ruling party is still calling the shots, so to speak.
No, this one they have handled haphazardly. This matter is between the conduct of police and the conduct of politicians, not the incumbent president. So they are branding.
That's very important to
They are
distinguish.
branding who is not in the game to involve him or her.
But
in
you know
the
they
game.
always do that.
No,
they
no, no.
always involve him.
After swearing in, when you are sworn in,
Yes.
you are sworn in on the mandate of the Republic of Uganda,
That's right.
which is above the appointing authority. And when you are executing what is right, the law shields you.
So
The appointing authority cannot come in offended and incriminate you. You have to take an upper hand in law. So this one is between the two, the police and the politician, which should be handled by two bodies, Electoral Commission and Uganda Human Rights Commission, independently.
How about other civil society organizations?
The civil society organization, they have a problem
Which one?
at stake. They operate under the armpits of Human Rights Commission and Electoral Commission. When you are registering, when you go to NGO Bureau, they have to seek for a recommendation. When you want to deal in human rights, you have to get a recommendation from Uganda Human Rights Commission.
So what you're saying is that the civil society organizations are not as independent as they should be because they're in the armpits of this.
Yes, and when you are going to deal in matters of elections, you have to go to Electoral Commission for a recommendation. Recommendations, you know,
And
what
if they-
abides them.
And if they say we cannot recommend
What
you,
abides them? They are what abides recommendations are there. Conditions may arise.
everything that has a recommendation
Or else,
has
they
conditions.
don't have permanent registration. That one is also a problem. You may fear that when I make an attempt which may offend the renewing body, my license will be withdrawn. So therefore you are weakened.
Now, there has been this argument, and it has even been brought to the fore by the president himself. I remember the last elections we had, some civil society organizations had their doors closed because they were accused of working with development partners and other countries to destabilize the electoral process of Uganda.
How do you destabilize? So those are concocted.
Miseducation, maybe?
Those are concocted scenarios to create the agenda hidden within that one, or even blanketed. So the donor, you must first table your proposal with them. The donor community is shielded with the law, and the protocols and ratifications are between Uganda government and the donor community. They don't go above. And Minister of Foreign Affairs, the President and the Prime Minister's office, they are the ones who engage in these protocols. Let me give you an example. As of now, there is an ongoing meeting in China.
Yes.
Her Excellency Arpo has represented Uganda. But those who doesn't know are saying he has represented His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni.
Yet
no.
This is a meeting of African leaders.
Yes.
Kenya's president is there, South Africa's president is there.
She is representing Uganda. They will come out with a protocol, a declaration, or whatever they will name
bilateral
it.
agreements.
They will name it.
Yes.
When I push that bilateral, there is no way how you come in to regulate, because it is you who created so. And if the government didn't want the donor community support this civil society, they should have scrapped it. Who created a law and an enabling law creating NGOs.
This has been happening every election cycle. So there probably there is a reason why this comes up every election cycle when it comes to civil society organizations and donors.
Let me expose this. The police and the government, they are fighting people's disagreements. Because when I am a member of a certain civil society, when we have our own problems, I come and brand them. Then the government comes in. Some smarter people always use police into their problems and create charges against them. Because when you say destabilizing, don't go there to close their offices, regulate them. The government has a mandate to create a staff, mostly the president, through the constitution, has a mandate to deploy within civil societies and government offices on statutory basis with an instrument. That's why they say the fountain of power holds instruments of power. That's what they mean. Can write to public service that within this civil society, I am getting somebody on this role. Then that one will raise a letter to the head of civil service and secretary to cabinet. They endorse it. That one is staffs there.
Now, Mr. Vianney, I would please share your last remarks as we come to the end of our discussion.
We need to sustain the civic education and voter education. Because voters, when they conflict, we don't have harmony. When we read in disharmony. And even these people who are representative, they should be, every 6 months, go on training. These are our leaders, from top
to
bottom.
Thank you
so
so
that
much.
they can know
Yes.
where they are, and they should go down to the public to view what is the impression there, than keeping at higher debates. Because when you reach in the public, in the villages, they don't hide you. They say we were expecting you the following, but you have failed. What you do, this one. They should move by guidance. They shouldn't move by the self-styled thinking of wisdom that they are highly potential than the others.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vianney. Now, Mr. Vianney is the Chief Whip for NASA, and we've been looking at civic and voter education. Now, I'll end with a comment from Owang David Cosmos from Abim District, who says, Mr. Vianney, thank you for your wise views you always give to Ugandans. Secondly, this is the time civic education should begin, because according to you, the roadmap is already out. Money should be put in place for this exercise, because all stakeholders, including candidates, must know their civic duty. Thank you so much for sticking with us. I see comments from Kabaka Mamoshid, who says who is asking if Parliament is now a business rather than a place where service to the people should be honored. We can't go any further than this, but thank you so much for being a part of Good Morning Uganda. Now, Ruben Mpima is coming up next with the sports updates. Stick around.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC.
He expected me to die like within the first 2 years.
Out of the blue, the child will get pains, especially in the wrists. And this happens commonly when children are starting to walk.
Was brought to you by
You can Now get all the chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21 hash and select daily, or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archived stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning, my name is Ruben MP Machibidango. I'm glad to be here this morning, away from the civic education and of course discussing voting and electoral reforms into sport. On a sad note, the athlete who was banned by a boyfriend somewhere in Kenya, news coming in is that she has passed away. Yes, she did pass away yesterday. And all our thoughts are with the family. But from the sad news into the good news that I have. Today happens to be the big day for Abe Prosper, the man I normally call Mavili here. His birthday is today. But I don't know where the party is. But Abe Prosper, like you can see him. That is Abe Prosper for you. He's actually part of the backroom staff here. His birthday is today. I don't know how old he is, but Abe Prosper's day is today. And I wish, as a team, wish Abe Prosper a happy birthday. And of course, Abe, you need to tell us the better half. Where is she? You need to discuss with us who is in charge of the party. But on your special day, we appreciate you. We celebrate you, Abe. And we thank you for the dedication, for the teamwork, for everything that you do for the team. We appreciate and we wish you the very best of the day. But the other question is, when are you going to cut off that hair, Abe? If you do a cut off the hair, then we can talk about other things. But happy birthday to you and many more returns. May you live to see the second coming of Jesus Christ our Lord. That is if you live longer. If you don't, then you live early. But as of now, as for the team, wish you the very best of the day. Away from the birthday greetings into sport, I will start with the basketball. Now, this is a bit boring if you ask me. Yesterday, we had a game in Lugogo between actually we had 2 games. The ladies game, which ended in Dolphins win. And of course, the men's final, basketball finals, where the Oilers won their 10th in a row. They did beat the Titans. That was 64-51. Now, in any other competition, in any other league, if a team wins 10 in a row, that is 10 in 10, it becomes boring. I'm sorry to say, I not to downplay the Oilers team, but I think the chasing pack is as poor as people in Chiegegwa. Because you can't allow a team win you can win 10 in a row. I mean, your KIU Titans, how would you, then what is this mantle? The Oilers dismantle KIU Titans in actually the finals. Birthday boy, let's change the tag to dismantle. Yes, but of course, I was saying that for me, I have watched basketball for so many years, for a decade, 2 decades and so. I have not seen a team as dominant as the Oilers. When they won their first championship in 2013, we thought it was just a fly in the pan. We thought that maybe they've come up, but they have been the best team in the league. They have been the best on-form team. That was 2013. By that time, there were the Falcons, and we had the power. And the Falcons had a good team under the stewardship of Stephen Omonyi. But now, when you watch today, when you look at what's happening today, the man on the screen is, we nicknamed him Chikiri. Chikiri is a player who spends a lot of time in the mirror, behind the mirror, or in front of the mirror to just comb his hair. But when it comes to playing on that court, he delivers nothing. He does deliver nothing. But the Oilers, kudos to them for winning their 10th championship in a row, though at the cost of the basketball league. I mean, the organizers of the league, where are the teams? What can teams do to stop the dictator? The dictator here is the Oilers. How can you win 10 in a row, honestly? I don't know. I would have said that whoever they face is a dwarf in terms of performance, but really, I just wish the Blazers qualified for the final. Maybe they would never have been swept. But I also watched, I think it was 2 years ago, when the Oilers swept Power 4-0 as well. The only closest I have watched this basketball final is, I know I mentioned it here, is 2015 when the best of 7 series, the game had to go to game 7. After 2015, the Oilers have been sweeping everything that is there to sweep. So for me, I congratulate them, but at the expense of the league, there's no competition in the league. I mean, what happened to teams? Ambrose Tashovia had the team that was so good. That was the Chambogo Warriors that had Ronica Seu, Stephen Okias, Marco Pio, legendary Gombia. And today, the Chambogo Warriors were relegated and you can't even trace them. The teams that came up, that have been playing, the Titans come from KIU, that is Kansanga. We have the UCU Cannons from Okono. Then we have JTL. We have teams like and DJ Angels, teams like Power. But what happened now, Blazers? What happened to those teams, the chasing pack? Anyway, ladies' side is where the interest is, but the Cardinals did actually. They first had a 2-0 lead. Now the Dolphins are back. The series are 2-2 with 3 games to play. So on Friday, as you look for where to go, as Uganda Cranes prepare to take on South Africa, Bafana away in Durban, you will be watching the Dolphins against the Lady Cannons. Actually, Lady Cardinals, not Cannons, Lady Cardinals. That will be at in Lugogo. But the series are tied to 2-2. So we are waiting to see if the Cardinals can win game 5, because coming from 2-0 down, that is the Dolphins, and leveling the series or the tie means that it's going to be a bit tricky for the next 3 games. But I've seen this happen. You win game 3, game 5, the other team wins game 6, then game 7 becomes a do or die. But I think the Dolphins might edge it. With the experience they have, it might be very difficult for the Cannons to recover. Well, away from that, into the US Open. The US Open tennis is on, and of course I have something here to talk about. On your screen you could clearly see that the final master final spots are up for grabs in the US Open. That is today, and with the draw wide open, a number of players have the opportunity to cross uncharted territory. Of course, we will have a couple of games. We have Jack Adaspa. He's a Grand Slam semi-finalist for the very first time. It was a brilliant performance from the emerging Briton, and of course we expect him to do wonders there. But so many other players. For me, when Djokovic lost that game, I thought, now we don't have somebody who can look at and say he's going to win the Grand Slam. Djokovic was vying for his 24th Grand Slam, the career Grand Slam, and he was actually knocked out. So Jack Draper, the first player to go 14 love in sets in the US Open main draw. Of course, 14 love is 14-0. Now, the nil is love in tennis language. So he's not lost a game, Jack Draper. But of course, these statistics are deceptive sometimes. You might think that you're on the right track, then you land into a certain a certain player who doesn't want to know. I did watch this in I think it was 2007 when Andre Agassi was playing against Mino from Eastern Europe. I forget the name. Andre lost that game, and we all thought that the odds were against the other player. And Andre came into this with super confident and with complacency, but he lost. You can think that Draper is won it all, is beaten everybody on the tour. But you land into a certain player and you lose it there. But anyway, away from tennis into football, Galatasaray confirmed the signing of Victor Osimhen. I did watch, this I was watching one of the Nigerian channels, and there was audience, talking to the audience of Nigeria, and I did see Nigerian football fans lambasting Napoli and the management of Napoli football club, how they have undermined their player, that is Victor Osimhen. How could they send him to Galatasaray on loan? And Napoli actually did confirm yesterday that they have allowed Victor Osimhen to join Galatasaray on loan until June 30th, 2025. Now, that shows you that Napoli do not need him. You don't loan the player for the season-long loan if you do need him. The club has also reached an agreement with the player regarding the option to extend his contract until 2027. That is if they need him, if the Conte is still in charge. And Antonio Conte is a racist, if you ask me. Where if he comes in and doesn't want you as a player, you will never see anything. You will never play under him. You saw what happened to Eden Hazard. But anyway, when you look at the values, how much Osimhen was valued 2 years ago, he was a player who was worth £104 million. To him, Sofiane Amrabat, Alan Saint-Maxima, Yilmaz, and Yusuf El Nesri, they were really products from here, who were so way up there in terms of prices. But today, everything has dropped, and you can't really sit here and talk about Osimhen. Osimhen has been frozen by Napoli, and that shows you how much a team can really freeze a player. But Osimhen did. We have not heard from his camp, but he's not happy the way he's been treated by Napoli. Away from that, into the Ballon d'Or nominees. For the first time in so many years, Lionel Messi is not among those who will be nominated, or were nominated yesterday for the best player in the world. Lionel Messi will not win another Ballon d'Or this year after being left out of the nominees review. That was revealed by organizers yesterday. As 16 England stars feature alongside members of Spain's Euro 2024 squad and Madrid's Champions League winning teams. Messi claimed the 8th Ballon d'Or of his guitarring career last year. Aged 37, is not among the 30 contenders this time, despite winning another title with Argentina at the Copa America in July. The former Barcelona superstar, now playing in US in Inter Miami, was also missing from the nominees in 2022 when Karim Benzema took the honors. However, he returned to win last year after leading Argentina to glory at the World Cup in Qatar. The most prestigious individual award in football is voted by a jury of journalists from each of the top 100 countries in FIFA's world rankings. Brazil forward Vinicius Jr. is among the favorites and is one of the 6 members of the Madrid team that won La Liga and the Champions League last season to be nominated. Jude Bellingham, Dani Carvajal, Toni Kroos, Antonio Rudiger, Fedez Valverde are the other members, while Kylian Mbappe, who left PSG for Real Madrid over the close season, features there too. Carvajal is among the contenders from the victorious Spanish team, alongside Alejandro Grimaldo, Dani Olmo, Rodri, Nico Williams, and Lamine Yamal. Now, those are the players. Of course, City's Norwegian striker Erling Haaland and England and Bayern Munich striker Harry Kane on the list as well, but there is no place for 5-time winner Cristiano Ronaldo, now 39. So, but for me, I will ask a question. What is the English striker doing that, English captain, that is Harry Kane. I mean, if you discuss Champions League and let's say Euro or even Copa America, Michael, maybe the Euro, because that's where he plays. He's a national football from, but of course I don't see. But I see Vinicius Junior taking it because he was instrumental in Madrid's quest for that final, which they won under Carlo Ancelotti. Then if it's not Vinicius Junior, then the Spanish team that won at the Euro, Dani Olmo, players like Rodri might be there. But of course, Declan Rice, what is Declan Rice doing there as well? Declan Rice. But let's wait and see. Of course, I don't vote, but Sarah Gomagogo will vote. That is His Excellency. Not His Excellency, no, what am I talking about here? Okay, the former president has a slot to vote for the best player in the world. Hopefully, he goes into that ballot box and goes for the player who deserves to be the Ballon d'Or winner. But if you ask me, it will be actually, the ceremony will be on 28th of Monday. That will be October. It will be a Monday. And I strongly believe that between Real Madrid and Spain, Spanish national team, they will pick one player. And now, if this player is Dani Carvajal, who won the Champions League with Real Madrid, and of course the Euro with Spain, that might be something in his favor. Or even Valverde, I don't know anyway, but the votes will be out. We shall be waiting for Drogba and his the person who will MC with him. I know Drogba will be there for the Ballon d'Or, and he might be the MC. Him, Ludi Hurit, there's a lady, I forget her name, who normally MCs with Drogba, and they make it colorful. The arrivals of the stars is what, for me, I always watch to see the outfits, the shoes, the girlfriends they come up with as players. So I can't wait for October to see who takes the honors of the best player in the world. Anyway, I've got to go, but Robert Shah will be coming up, take you through GMU Extra. But of course, we have 2 games at Friday. That's when the Cranes take on South Africa. Bafana away in Durban. Then, of course, the home game will be on Monday at 7 p.m. That will be between Congo Brazzaville and the Uganda Cranes. This is the AFCON qualifiers 2025 that will take place in Morocco. So we are waiting to see if Paul Put has a team that can qualify for AFCON 2025. Let's go in Nambole on Monday and support our national team. You remember, when the fans turn up in numbers, fans become the 12th player. So that motivates the players on the turf or on the ground, and they get the result. So if you don't show up to support the national team, then you're not patriotic. Patriotism teaches us to love everything Ugandan. Good morning.